So H3, similar to the coin class. So the coin class, we have two possibilities. It's either a head or a tail. But in this case, we have possibilities 1 through 6. So we're not going to flip our dice. We're going to roll it, which means that you don't have a method called isHeads, but you'll have to have some way of knowing what the value is on the face. So you will need a getFace to return the face value of this die. So let's get now that you've all read it, let's look at main. Main, you roll 2 dice. If you get exactly a 7, you win. If you get an 11, you lose. And anything else, you just keep on rolling. So you're going to be in a loop here, rolling until you get either a 7 or an 11. But we want you to, well, I want you to print out the value of this total every time through the loop, because that's the only way that we can check whether you really are exiting the loop when you get a 7 or an 11. So we need to do a few things in main. Let's worry about main over here. You need to create 2 dice. Let's call them whatever you want, but I'm going to call them D1 and D2. That means construct them. When you construct them, they are constructed with a value on the face, but this is not like you've rolled them. It's like you grab 2 dice and put them down on the table. There's going to be a value on the face, on the top face, but you're still going to pick them up and roll them. So when you create them, it's true that the face gets a value, but that's not the one that you want to worry about. That's just the starting point. So somehow then you have a loop, and within this loop you do something. You roll the dice, you get the total, and you'll notice I'm just putting this in comments. It's because I'm going to grab it and putting it into my program later on. So since I'm going to get a total here, then it tells me that somewhere up here I've got to initialize some total. So that I can get my new total here. And the only reason I'm making it 0 here is because NetBeans will probably flag it and give me a warning if I don't do that, saying that it's possible that total never got a value. So I'm just going to initialize it at 0. I know that 0 will get wiped out once I roll the dice, but that's fine. So I'm going to get my new total, and I'm going to print it. And then this would be the end of my loop. And I'm going to get out of this loop. So I'm going to loop here until total is 7 or 11. And there are there are 3 different loops I can think of that you can use. I would not use a for loop because you don't know how many times you're going to go through this loop. But you can use a do while, you can use a while, you can even use an infinite loop and just break out of it once your total is either 7 or 11. And then once you've ended your loop here, then you've got your messages, you know, you won, you lost, whatever. So this is main, but in order to do all of this, I need my class. Which means I need constructors. And I don't really know, I can't remember whether I need a default constructor or not. Yes, I do. It has to be a default constructor, sorry. It has to be probably the only one constructor because it's going to construct something and it's going to put that number on the top face of your die. So it's going to have no parameters, it's just going to construct. It's going to be, in fact, a default constructor. Then you need accessors, which are the gets. There's really only one. We're going to get the value of the face. You don't really have any mutators because you're not going to alter it, the face. You need a toString. Which will print the value of the face. What else do you need? You need a roll method. And this, no, this is not private. You need a roll method. And that's probably everything that you need in this class. When you create your dice here, then your constructor is going to look something like this. Public the name of the method, the name of the object, sorry. And it's going to do one thing in here, and that's going to be, it's going to call the roll method. And this roll method is going to put a value into face, if that's what you've called it. You don't have to call it face, but whatever it is, I'll call it face. So just as you had a flip before, you're going to have a roll. Now that flip, we use that random number generator somewhat differently, but you're going to have to look up random number generators to remember the syntax. But ultimately, you will be saying face equals whatever you called your random number generator dot next int, and you need a number between 1 and 6, but actually 6 will give you an integer between 0 and 5, and then you need to add 1 to it to get a number between 0 and 6, sorry, between 1 and 6. The 6 in here will give you a result between 0 and 5, and then add 1 to get something between 1 and 6. So this you probably need to review random number generators. So what you do is you make a new random. Here I called it rand equals new rand random. So I'm making a new random number generator. You're working in NetBeans. It's going to help you with the imports, and then you use this name here, this object that you made here, and get its next int to get your new random number. So this is something that I put it here for you because I can't remember when we used it last semester. And this you will put in your roll method. So that's part of your roll method. So when you construct your object, the only thing you have to do is roll it. And that puts the initial number on a face. You don't actually use that initial number because once you get into the loop, the first thing that you do is roll these die. And you remember the syntax for rolling the dice is going to be d1.roll, and similarly for d2. Roll does not return anything. It just alters the face on the top of your die. So you've rolled it here, but you need to know what its value is so that you can get the total. So you need that getFace accessor method here so that you can get the face of the first one and then get the face of the second one and add them both together to get your total. So this was it. Roll does not return a value. All that roll does is puts a value on the top face of the die. So we saw it here, it wasn't returning a value. And in main, it's not going to return a value. How do you get the value? You have to use getFace to get the value, and then you put that value into num1, put the other value into num2, add them both together to get the total, print out your total, etc.